Are you new to code, or are you just looking for another programming language to learn in 2025? Either way, you found the right video. I'm going to give you 5 programming languages that are worth your time and that can get you started or just sharpen that knife in your programming skills that companies are hiring for in 2025 and beyond. Let's go ahead and get into it. So you may be thinking, who is this guy and why should I listen to him? Well, let me introduce myself. My name is Zazo. I've been coding for about 10 years and I've been working in the tech industry for about 8 years, holding different positions like a software engineer, data engineer, and a software quality assurance engineer. I've dabbled a little bit in data science and machine learning as well. So let's go ahead and get into these. All right, so coming in at number 5, we have Go, or Golang. Golang was developed by Google. They needed something that was simple and efficient to basically handle all of the different aspects of their infrastructure and enterprise. Essentially, they needed something that was going to be simple, efficient, and that was back-end focused and cloud focused, so that performance was a really big thing for them. So they developed Go as language. Why choose Go? It's growing, essentially. Go is growing. So basically, like I stated before, it has blazing fast performance. It's excellent for microservices architecture, and there's clear and high concurrency support. So this is very good for cloud native applications, things that you do want to have a better performance focused application. Go is going to definitely be one that you'll want to put in your notebook and consider learning. So the next one on the list is actually Rust. So Rust has been gaining massive traction because of its focus on safety and performance. So essentially, Rust has memory safety without a garbage collector. So it's very comparable to C and C++, but it's kind of evolving and kind of growing now. So it's very high performance. It's very adopted in system programming and blockchain development and those things. So if you're looking for a really high performance application, Rust is going to be a good pick for you. If you're a real performance nerd, then you're probably going to want to look into Rust and see what it has to offer and see if it is the right language for you. So Java is going to be the next one. Java, let's be honest, it's been around forever, but it's for good reason, right? It's still a really key player in enterprise applications and even Android development and even cloud computing as well. So it's highly scalable. So that's the thing about, the Java language is it's very, install once, run everywhere, that type of thing. It made it stick around for this long and is still, heavily used in a lot of companies to this day. It has a huge demand still for enterprise software, and it still has a strong presence in the Android development space. So there's a lot of jobs for Java. Java is still a very well known and used language in a bunch of different bigger companies that, even if they have new stuff now, they probably still have legacy code or something like that Java is still embedded in their systems. So Java is always a great one to learn. One of the downsides is, as a beginner, it can be a little much to grasp the concepts, but if you do learn something like Java, it kind of makes one of the more, newer languages seem easier. So I started out with Java myself, and man, that was rough as my first language. But like I said, it did make other languages feel a little easier to learn because there's a lot of stuff you don't have to worry about. Good and bad thing. I'm not gonna get into that, but Java is number 3. So let's get on to number 2. So number 2 is JavaScript. So JavaScript, let's be honest, whether you love it or hate it with all its frameworks, React frameworks, all these different things, JavaScript is the king of web development. It is what it is. It powers a lot of websites. I was gonna give you a number, but I don't know the number. But I'm gonna say over 90% there's JavaScript somewhere on web applications. I'm gonna just throw it out there. And now with its things like frameworks of React and front end frameworks, there's also Node.js, which allows for back end development. So JavaScript is popular in the sense of being able to kind of build an application front end and back end with the same language. So that's why it's a good thing. And there's different frameworks, like I said, React, Vue.js. For full stack developers, it's really easy if that's the route you want to go, to essentially learn JavaScript, learn how to use it on the front end and the back end, and essentially being able to get hired that way. So one of the downfalls of JavaScript or other things that are more popular and I guess widely used is when everybody knows something like JavaScript, if you just kind of hang your hat on just that, your competition is so much wider, because you got to think, because it is so easy to learn both front end and back end with JavaScript, there's a lot of people doing the same thing, which when it comes to the job market, that's where you're going to have to put yourself above the rest, however you decide to do that. But it is something to just take into consideration when you're learning something that is super, super popular, supply and demand, and that goes with everything. So number one I have, and you may have guessed it, is Python. So Python essentially dominates because of its versatility, with you being able to do web development with frameworks like Django and Flask, and then other things with AI machine learning, with data science, you being able to use different things that are embedded like TensorFlow and Pandas, NumPy for data science and machine learning. It just has a lot of versatile things about it. That's why it's at number one. What I will state is it's the same thing with kind of JavaScript. If everybody is learning Python or JavaScript, then there becomes a big supply of these developers and the demand kind of goes down. Not saying there aren't jobs and you can't get a job. I'm just saying you really have to stand out when you're using Python. So like I said, it's great for AI, data science, those type of things. It is great for beginners. If you are not sure what you want to do, but you want to learn how to code, I suggest you start with Python, because it has a very beginner friendly syntax compared to other things like Java or Rust. And then also it has a huge, massive community support as well as library support. And there's literally like a package or library for seems like almost anything in Python. Like I said before, for machine learning stuff like TensorFlow, or data manipulation, Pandas, NumPy, a whole bunch of different libraries that you can pull in and use for your different area that you're focusing in. So whether you are just starting out or you're trying to level up your career and adding a new programming language to your tool belt, essentially, these are 5 of them that will definitely future-proof you for 2025 and beyond. These are popular programming languages. Just be aware that this obviously changes based on your area and based on your job or future job that you would like to get into. And I would recommend doing some research on what is specifically best for you in your case. But you can't really go wrong with these 5 unless you're going to be doing something that's completely out of the realm of any of these, right? So some honorable mentions that I have are, if you're going to be using SQL, I didn't consider it a programming language. It's kind of like a query language. So SQL is an honorable mention because it's crucial for databases and you're going to need to know SQL. TypeScript, which is just essentially JavaScript with type handling, to where JavaScript is very loosely typed or dynamically typed. TypeScript adds a bit of structure to that. It makes it cleaner and easier to maintain. Kotlin, if you're going into Android development, it's really catching steam there. Java also has its space in the Android development space, but Kotlin is growing in that as well and is really being adopted by a lot of developers. And you have Swift if you want to go into iOS development, or Apple, of course. So those are some honorable mentions. Like I said, adding any of these to your tool belt will essentially have put you in a good space. Obviously, there's more to it than just picking a language and knowing the basics or knowing a couple things here and there. But you obviously always want to check with your area and where you live and what's popular and what companies are hiring for there. So to the end of the video, go ahead and leave me a like. Let me know what programming language you are learning in 2025 or using in 2025. And go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Love, peace, and chicken grease. I'm out. That will be worth your time. Either if